But here's the thing, like Lynn Buchanan didn't believe it because he had kind of faint memories of it. So then he had his team at Fort Meade remote view it. Now, for people who don't know anything about remote viewing, the protocol is you get eight characters, right? So like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It used to be geospatial coordinates, but that would ruin the experience because when you're dealing with military officers and personnel, right, they'll start to see 8-digit coordinates and they'll be able to figure out roughly where in the world they would be looking at, right?
Okay.
So it would So the way that this has to work, or ideally it works, is through a double-blind protocol, okay? And the way it works is you're given kind of just 8 random characters, and it corresponds to a target, okay? Now the target is just someplace in space and time. Could be the past, could be the future, could be anything. Typically, it's an intelligence, or it was designed as an intelligence collection method, right? And so it was scientifically verified. It was produced in Stanford Research Institute, SRI, Stanford Research Institute, designed by, they were kind of working with this guy, Ingo Swann, who was a gifted natural psychic. But anyway, I'll get back to that. But the way this works is that's all you get. You just get 8 characters. And it's like for people who are software engineers, it's like a pointer. It's like a pointer in memory someplace, but it's just to a place in space and time. The reason they do that is you don't want to pollute the data that you would get from the target. So, and it's something they call front loading. And that's and there are examples of front loading where remote viewing has gone horribly awry, right? That's the whole Heaven's Gate situation, but we can talk about that one later too. So you don't want to have front loading. You just want to open that aperture perception and see what comes in. You don't want to be polluted, right? Otherwise, if I tell you, hey, I'm looking for a missile base in Russia, near Semipalatinsk or whatever, you're going to start seeing missiles. You're going to start making up shit, right?
So it needs to be like tabula rasa in a way. Like
double blind protocol. Sometimes it can be single blind, but even then, there are some people who claim to know how this works, but the CIA, DIA were never able to figure out how it works, and that was part of the reason they quote unquote canceled the program. The program's still definitely going on. But I think Dean Radin, who was associated with that, Dr. Dean Radin, if you haven't talked to him, you definitely need to talk to him.
I know that name. I think Danny Jones.
Danny Jones, definitely talked to him.
Yeah.
But he used to work at Bell Labs, and he was also affiliated with the program way back when. And he's done an immense amount of research on psi, magic, like MAGICK, all that stuff, and has demonstrated that psi works to, odds against chance in some cases in the numbers that over like quadrillion, let's say, right? Like well over 1 in quadrillion odds against chance of this thing, of certain things happening just randomly. But in terms of this intelligence technique, it's just in order to kind of focus the mind, and you slowly open that aperture of perception. So you typically start with just classifying, is it a man-made object? Is it is it land? Is it water? Is it a life form, et cetera? And you slowly, methodically open that aperture of perception through, depending on the technique you use, because there's various techniques. Once they broke from Stargate, a lot of these viewers kind of put their own little stamp on it.
Okay.
But you gradually open that aperture of perception so that by the time you're in stage 6, right? Back in the day, they would build like full-scale clay models and things like that. I haven't seen anybody doing that today. But it's a real capability.
All right. I was holding in a question there just so I can fully understand this. When it makes sense at the beginning where you're explaining they open up the aperture and they start with however they're doing it, if they're sitting in a room, sitting like this, or just staring at the wall. I'm not sure. Maybe it's different for different remote viewers. But they come up with the thing, like the base case of it. And then is someone like asking them more questions about what they see so they can start to whittle it down to, I think you described it in the stages, like stage 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6?
Yeah, so sometimes. So there's monitored viewing where you have a monitor that will kind of probe you and ask questions on certain things that you're reporting.
Like a person's doing that. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, ideally, you want that person also to be blind. Otherwise, they're going to be kind of foisting the...
Right.
And the other thing is, this is what I was trying to get at, and I got distracted. They're also trying to, because they don't know how it works, right? Some people claim to know how it works, but, you know, in any of this stuff, it's difficult to really tell. The reason you don't want the monitor to have it in his head, because it might be something they call a telepathic overlay, right? So you might be just pulling it out of their head.